On the 5th wedding anniversary, the dishes on the table had already gone cold when Adrian finally returned covered in snow, placing a cake on the table. "The cake you wanted," he said with a businesslike attitude, while I was filled with joy. Until I opened the cake packaging and saw the heart-shaped mango decoration on top, my heart felt as if it had been engulfed by heavy snow. There was no trace of warmth left. This cake, I had just seen on Serena's Facebook. "Adrian, let's get a divorce." He frowned, his face as cold as the weather outside. "Are you serious?" "Yes." Adrian looked up at me. He might find it hard to imagine that this word would come from my mouth. "Today is our 5th wedding anniversary." I started bustling about in the morning, preparing a table of his favorite dishes. From dawn to dusk, I reheated the food time and again, but Adrian never returned. I saw Serena's Facebook and learned that she returned to the country today. Adrian went to pick her up at the airport. The cake posted on Serena's Facebook was identical to the one on the table. Except beside the cake, there was a large bouquet of roses that I had never received. Adrian took out the cake, cut a piece, and handed it to me. I bought the cake, eat it quickly. Every time I had a disagreement with him, he always spoke in this somewhat impatient tone. As if I were the unreasonable one. In the past, I would always take the opportunity to back down and let the matter pass. But this time, I didn't want to endure it anymore. "Where did you come back from?" Adrian's hand paused slightly, but he calmly placed the cake in my hand. "Serena is back," everyone gathered for a meal. He had no intention of hiding it from me, just like the photo sticker in his wallet and the yellowed envelopes in the bedside cabinet. Serena said that in the old days, transportation was slow, and she liked those ancient ways. So after going abroad, she sent those letters. Adrian treasured them like precious items, locking them in the cabinet and never allowing me to open it. I was like a thief, peeking at her Facebook. Even this self-assumed happiness was stolen from her. Thinking about it, it's really ridiculous. Lowering my head and seeing the extra cufflinks on his shirt, grievances instantly surged in my heart. Right after we got married, I bought him many cufflinks, all of which he threw into the cabinet. He said he didn't like such ostentatious things. It turns out he didn't dislike them, just the ones I gave him. I placed the cake plate on the table, turned and went to the bedroom, took out the divorce agreement I had prepared long ago, and placed it in front of him. "Adrian, let's get a divorce." I didn't take the easy way out, which obviously exceeded Adrian's patience limit. His brows twisted into a knot, he grabbed the cake plate and slammed it heavily on the table. "Evelyn, haven't I come back? You still want a divorce? Isn't that making a mountain out of a molehill?" I looked at the scattered mango cream on the table, mixed in the oily soup in the plate, as if reflecting my marriage filled with mixed feelings. As fish drink water, only they know if it's cold or warm. Making a fuss? What's the use of the person returning if the heart never comes back? I walked back to the bedroom, put a few clothes into the suitcase. Looking around, a bitter smile involuntarily appeared at the corners of my mouth. Married for 5 years, yet my belongings in this house could be counted on one hand. Adrian said he liked a minimalist style, the fewer things the better. Naturally, that included my things. This was actually a good thing, I could pack up casually. When taking jewelry from the drawer, I saw half a bottle of loratadine inside. I threw the bottle into the trash can. Without being with Adrian, I probably won't need allergy medicine anymore. On all birthdays or anniversaries, Adrian would buy a mango cake, even from the same cake shop. Because Serena liked the mango cake from this shop. But he didn't know that I was allergic to mangoes. After eating the mango cake, I would immediately take allergy medicine, otherwise my throat would burn with pain. Stuffing everything into the suitcase, it surprisingly wasn't full yet. I didn't look back and resolutely walked out of the bedroom. Adrian was still sitting at the dining table, lost in thought. Hearing the sound of the wheels, he turned his head and realized I wasn't just talking. "Adrian, after you sign the divorce agreement, let me know, and we'll find a time to get the divorce certificate. It's snowing outside." He didn't know if he was reminding me or threatening me. Oh. I responded, opened the door, and walked out. The snow was falling heavily outside, quickly covering the ground in a layer of silver white. I wrapped my down jacket tightly and took the step I should have taken long ago. Adrian, this time I'm really leaving. The heavy snow fell on me, like dancing elves under the streetlights. Sudden memories surged like this heavy snow, flooding my heart. 5 years ago today, I had just graduated not long ago. It was snowing heavily like this, and I was holding a thermos box waiting downstairs at his company. Inside was the chicken soup I had carefully simmered. That day, Adrian's face was pale, like the snow. He let me get into the car and suddenly said, "Let's get married." Without waiting for my answer, he took me to the Civil Affairs Bureau and got the marriage certificate. Later, I learned that on that day, Serena posted on Facebook saying she would stay abroad to work and not return. Without a wedding ring or proposal ceremony, I muddled through and married Adrian like that. Coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, he took me to the nearby cake shop to buy a mango cake. I wanted to tell him I was allergic to mangoes but worried about ruining the atmosphere, so I forced myself to eat a piece. That day, Adrian was silent all along. Fortunately, I didn't need to say much. He sent me back to my rented house, told me to pack up and go to his place tomorrow. After he left, I quickly went to buy allergy medicine. From then on, my drawer never ran out of it. For 5 years, I ate mango cakes for 5 years, yet Adrian never discovered that I was allergic to mangoes. In 5 years, I understood a truth: blind accommodation cannot exchange for love. Adrian's heart, silent for 5 years, started beating again the moment Serena returned. I hailed a taxi by the roadside and went to Claire's house. Opening the door and seeing my flushed face, Claire quickly took the suitcase from my hand and ushered me to the bathroom. Running away from home in the middle of the night, "Evelyn, you're really something, go take a hot shower quickly." The warm water dispelled the chill from my body. After the shower, Claire had already boiled ginger brown sugar water. Drinking a cup warmed me from head to toe. "Tell me, how many days are you planning to stay this time?" Claire looked accustomed to it. Every time I had a spat with Adrian, I would come to Claire's. Because I had no home in this city. In the past, after staying for 2 days, without waiting for Adrian's call, I would slink back. Claire thought it was the same this time. Probably Adrian thought so too. Holding the cup with both hands, I was reluctant to let go of the remaining warmth. "Not going back." Claire hummed, continued nesting in the corner of the sofa writing her sentimental novel. She must have thought I was joking. I didn't explain either. The heavy snow fell for a day and a night, finally stopping at noon the next day. On the 3rd day, when Claire started to re-examine me, I received Adrian's call. "Evelyn, if you've had enough fuss, come back." See, in his eyes, everything I did was just messing around, without exception. "Who are you calling?" "Everyone is waiting for you." Suddenly, a gentle female voice came from inside, softly urging Adrian. It was Serena. "Adrian, I really want a divorce. If you have no objections to the divorce agreement, let's find time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau." Even hearing Serena beside him, I remained calm as water. Claire heard my words, nearly swallowing the date she had just put in her mouth. She widened her eyes, silently asking what was going on. Adrian was silent for a moment, his tone carrying suppressed anger. "I'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau now and wait for you." Hanging up the phone, I picked up my clothes to leave. Claire instantly smelled gossip, jumped up from the sofa, wanting to go with me. "Really getting a divorce?" I nodded. "His white moonlight has returned to the country." Profanity slipped out. Claire spat. "Why should you make way for her?" "I'm not making way for her, I'm just letting go of myself." Claire chattered incessantly while driving me to the Civil Affairs Bureau, already imagining several scenarios where I stun the world after the divorce. The car stopped, and I saw Adrian standing at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Beside him stood Serena. She was wearing an apricot-colored coat, which accentuated her tall figure. After several years, she was still as radiant. Serena and Adrian were childhood sweethearts, from kindergarten to university, all in the same schools. They had a common circle of friends, one I had never entered. In their junior year, Serena suddenly wanted to go abroad. Adrian might have tried to retain her, but it didn't succeed. On the day Serena left, Adrian hid in the school's small grove crying his eyes out. I, who was memorizing words, was disturbed and handed him a pack of tissues. He looked up at me, and at that moment, I saw a sense of brokenness in him. "Are you willing to date me?" "Yes." With these simple words, we got together. But what Adrian didn't know was that on freshman orientation day, the sight of him riding his bike had already stolen my heart. I'd silently loved him for 3 years, which is why I agreed without hesitation when he asked me that question. His heart, shattered by Serena, I wanted to mend with my own sincerity. "Evelyn, I came specifically to apologize. Is it because of my sudden return that caused a misunderstanding between you two?" Serena approached, her tone apologetic, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. The weather after the snow was really cold. I wrapped my down jacket tightly, subtly shifting to avoid her extended hand. "No misunderstanding, our divorce has nothing to do with you." Serena's extended hand stopped in midair, slightly embarrassed. "Evelyn, Adrian, and I are just friends. I only learned about your divorce during the group meal earlier." Claire often scolded Serena as an advanced green tea, hearing her words, couldn't help but curl her lip. I tightened the scarf around my neck, my expression calm. "What your relationship is no longer matters to me. It's quite cold outside, I'll go in first." I walked to Adrian's side. "Did you bring the documents?" Adrian had been listening to our conversation, subconsciously nodded at my question. Seeing me walk inside, he seemed to suddenly think of something. "Are you divorcing because of Serena?" "She and I." "Let's go in quickly, don't waste time." I interrupted him. "We've already come this far, confirming those things really has no meaning. In the divorce agreement, I wrote that I don't want the car or house, and only take my own savings." Adrian confirmed with me again. He said these assets could be divided. I refused. In the eyes of outsiders these years, we were respectful to each other, a model couple, but who would think that we even spent our own money separately? Of course, Adrian was still generous to me. If I asked for something, he would satisfy me. But I never asked. Because what I wanted, he couldn't give. Since we're divorcing, it's better to make a clean break. No property entanglements, no children. The divorce application went smoothly. We just need to wait through the cooling-off period and then come back for the divorce certificate. Coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, a cold wind blew in my face, and I couldn't help shivering. Adrian reached out, but I wrapped my down jacket tighter before he could. Since falling ill 2 years ago, every winter has been somewhat difficult for me. Adrian was sometimes considerate, like adjusting my scarf on windy winter days. After all, he bore some responsibility for my condition. Seeing my obvious rejection, Adrian withdrew his hand. "There are still some of your things at home. Throw them all away. Do you need me to drive you?" I looked at Serena getting out of his car and shook my head. "No need, see you in a month." Serena had walked closer, her face showing guilt. "Evelyn, Adrian, and I really have nothing. Think carefully during the cooling-off period. Adrian is a very responsible person." "Responsible? What's the point of a marriage with only responsibility left?" "Serena, I'm returning him to you, cherish him well." Dropping this sentence, I didn't look at Serena's awkward expression anymore and walked towards Claire's car. I also didn't notice Adrian's slightly furrowed brows. I knew Serena came to demonstrate to me, she just wanted to see me hysterical and crazy. To contrast her tolerance and magnanimity. One year, when Adrian was on a business trip abroad, I saw Serena's Facebook posting a photo of them dining together, and I immediately called Adrian. At that time, I was like a madwoman, constantly questioning Adrian. Annoying him to the point of turning off his phone. Compared to Serena's elegance, I probably looked like a shrew in Adrian's eyes then. But I was once an elegant woman too. Claire took me to a Chongqing hot pot restaurant. In her words, this was pulling back from the brink, stopping losses in time and rebirth. To celebrate, we should eat this fiery hot pot. Actually, I knew she was afraid I couldn't find an excuse to cry. I'm not very tolerant of spice. Every time I eat Chongqing hot pot, it spices me to tears. Every time I had a spat with Adrian because of Serena, I would find Claire to eat hot pot. Then cry legitimately. Saying it didn't hurt would be false. After all, that was the best 5 years of my youth. But I still ordered a mandarin duck pot under Claire's contemptuous gaze. I once thought giving up Adrian would be hard, but coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau today, I suddenly felt relieved. Putting feet in ill-fitting shoes only injures them without any benefit. Better to take off the shoes and walk barefoot. Adrian, thank you for teaching me a lesson. Loving others is not as good as loving oneself. Eating so much spicy food, stomach uncomfortable, mouth uncomfortable, eyes uncomfortable, why bother? I poured Claire a drink, responding to her contempt. Claire stared at me, seeming to want to see through my heart. Seeing my calm appearance, she muttered softly. At least the heart won't hurt. My heart suddenly twisted, but only for a moment. What I could pick up before, I can put down now. After eating, I returned to Claire's place, packed my things, and prepared to go back to my home thousands of miles away. I stayed in this city for Adrian. After hastily marrying Adrian, I wanted to take him to meet my parents. Adrian always used being busy as an excuse. Later, my parents came themselves to meet him. That meal wasn't even finished when he left. Serena, not knowing what grievance she suffered, called him transoceanically. He anxiously went to comfort Serena, said sorry to my parents, paid the bill, and left. Mom held my hand, her eyes full of heartache. Evelyn, he doesn't have you in his eyes, why bother suffering? Even Mom could see it, how could I not know? But I foolishly thought then that I could influence him, save him. Just like every girl thinks she can make the prodigal son turn back. Facts prove that the prodigal may stay, but won't turn back for you. The weather was overcast and changeable. Claire checked the forecast and insisted I leave in 2 days. Unable to persuade her otherwise, thinking it was good to hand over work, I booked a ticket for 3 days later. That night, I received Adrian's call. Really sorry to disturb you so late, I can't find my plaid shirt. Hearing him speak so cautiously for the first time, I was momentarily unaccustomed. I ironed that shirt and hung it on the balcony. Okay, I'll find an hourly worker tomorrow. Do you want me to send your things over? Just pack and throw them away. Seeing he had nothing else, I hung up. The next day, after handling company matters, the boss insisted on throwing me a farewell party. I actually had better options initially, but chose this small company for Adrian. The boss always thought he struck gold. Knowing I was leaving the city, he could only reluctantly agree to my resignation. Walking out of the office building with the boss, I saw Adrian standing by the car smoking. At that moment, I suddenly thought of myself a few years ago. Often holding a thermos box, waiting downstairs for an hour, just to deliver a bowl of hot soup to Adrian. Adrian once praised me, saying my cooking was great. From then on, as long as he came home, I would cook personally. Adrian saw me come out, extinguished the cigarette in his hand, threw it into the nearby trash can, and walked towards here. Evelyn, is this for you? Adrian never picked me up from work, the boss didn't even know him. Ex-husband. The boss was somewhat surprised. Letting the boss wait in the car first, I looked at Adrian. Anything else? Adrian's eyes were somewhat red, like he hadn't slept well. He took out a box of medicine from his pocket. Is this what you take? The hourly worker saw it while cleaning and told me. It was the allergy medicine I threw away. Oh, it's mine. I wanted to take it from him and throw it away. But he clutched the box tightly, his emotions obscure. Why do you take allergy medicine? He wouldn't let go, so I simply stopped trying, faintly saying, I'm allergic to mangoes. Adrian widened his eyes, how did I not know? I pulled a light smile at the corners of my mouth, what does knowing or not matter? Adrian, would you care about this? I. Adrian suddenly choked. He might really not know, or perhaps guessed once but didn't care much. But what does it matter? I no longer care. Someone is waiting for me, I'll go first. I turned towards the boss, hearing a soft whisper behind. Sorry. The voice was so light I thought I misheard. Without pausing, I got into the boss's car, not noticing Adrian standing there for a long time. The boss called familiar colleagues and held a farewell party for me. The farewell party ended very late, Claire called repeatedly. Finally, she took the slightly drunk me from colleagues and brought me home. Leaning on the passenger seat, I thought of how I used to pick up Adrian after he drank with friends. But every time he saw me, he was somewhat impatient, as if my appearance embarrassed him. I didn't understand then why someone wouldn't like the feeling of being cared for. Until one time I went early and heard the groups teasing. We all thought you'd marry Serena, didn't expect you to just find someone casually. Adrian was heartbroken by Serena, otherwise how could he marry so early? What a pity, I heard Serena has been single all along. I saw Adrian's eyes light up, like the stars that night. Only then did I understand that for Adrian, my care might be a burden. Because those friends were all his and Serena's friends, they didn't like me that much. They even thought I was the third party who separated them. But clearly, I was the one accompanying Adrian day and night, through his dark days. That day, I didn't pick up Adrian but found Claire to eat extremely spicy hot pot. Sleeping until naturally awake, I bid farewell to Claire, pulled the suitcase full of my things, and boarded the southbound train. Including university, I had lived in this city for nearly 10 years, yet the things I took away were only this one suitcase. Returning to the long-absent home, my parents tacitly didn't ask much. Claire must have told them in advance about my divorce. During dinner, parents subtly mentioned wanting me to help at the company. I was the type Claire said would inherit the family business if not hardworking. Parents always respected me, including my career and love. Now that I'm back, they still hope I inherit the family business. Seeing their black hair gradually frosting, I realized how absurd I had been. I'll go. Hearing my agreement, both were excited. That night, lying on the comfortable big bed, I saw Serena's Facebook. Left for 7 years, coming back it's still the way in memory, so good. Below was a group photo, her sitting in the center, smiling like a flower, like stars surrounding the moon. Adrian was beside her, one arm on the sofa back behind her, like embracing her. I cleanly deleted her contact. Said it's unrelated to me, then it's unrelated. Parents are old, the company hired a professional manager. Seeing him the first time, I couldn't help but be stunned. Ryan? I never thought the company's professional manager was Ryan. Ryan was my university class monitor, we hadn't met since graduation. I heard you're divorced? Ryan wasn't surprised seeing me, his first words weren't reminiscing. Still in the divorce cooling-off period. He hummed, didn't ask more, didn't even greet, turned to talk about company matters. Under his leadership, the company was thriving. After familiarizing with the situation, Ryan put away the materials. There's a dinner tonight, I'll accompany you. Coming out of the restaurant, it was completely dark. After saying goodbye to the client, Ryan and I walked to the car. Evelyn? Hearing someone call my name, I subconsciously stopped and turned. I didn't expect to see Adrian again here. Serena stood beside him, with exquisite makeup. After confirming it was me, she looked at Ryan. Evelyn, what a coincidence, I almost thought I misrecognized. Adrian and I came out to discuss some business, why are you in South City? Right, I remember your home is here, how come Adrian says it's his first time here? Adrian looked over, a moment of confusion in his eyes. Serena was indeed smart, in a few words, she just wanted to point out that Adrian never cared about me. But she was so smart yet didn't see that I really didn't care at all. South City is beautiful, wish you have fun. I turned back and continued walking forward. Just reaching the car, Adrian's voice came faintly. Who is he? Without looking, I knew the he meant was Ryan. Too lazy to deal with Adrian, I opened the car door to get in. Adrian quickly ran in front of me, grabbing the car door edge. "Evelyn, are you divorcing me because of him?" On Adrian's face, I actually saw anger. What was he angry about? "Adrian, let go." I wanted to close the door, but Adrian held tightly to the edge, not letting go even if squeezed. He stared at me like that, seeming to insist on an answer. Ryan opened my passenger door. "Evelyn, I drank a bit earlier, could you trouble to drive me back?" I turned to look at Ryan, not understanding why he was adding fuel to the fire now. "Ryan, you." My words weren't finished when Ryan already sat in. "I'll take it as you agreed." His gaze fell on Adrian's hand. "Ex-husband bro, let the past be past. Didn't cherish then, now trying to hold on will only hurt yourself." Adrian was stunned, his hand on the door edge slid down dejectedly. I quickly closed the door and drove away. "Ryan, thank you for helping me out just now. I'll drop you here, take a cab back." After driving a distance, I stopped the car by the roadside. Ryan opened the door, stepped 1 foot out, then turned to look at me. Moonlight illuminated his face dimly, but his eyes shone brightly. "Actually, I'm not just helping you out, A throttle sound rose nearby. I didn't hear what he said after. Ryan had gotten out. I drove away. After returning home, chatting with Claire about Ryan, the usually straightforward Claire suddenly became hesitant. Finally, she bit her lip and spoke. "Evelyn, actually, I knew long ago about Ryan being at your parents' company." Hearing Claire's words, my heart shook. "Ryan actually liked you during university, but you were all about Adrian, so he didn't confess to you. After university graduation, he went to South City just to be closer to you, but didn't expect you to marry Adrian right after graduating. After your miscarriage that winter, he entered your family's company. He said he wanted to help you guard the family business, so that one day when you're disheartened, you'd have a place to settle." Hanging up the video, I realized my face was full of tears. 2 years ago, I unexpectedly got pregnant and joyfully told Adrian. Adrian looked at the test report and finally said only, "Abort it." My smile froze on my face. He privately booked the surgery for me, I only knew on the way to the hospital. Because of this, we had a fierce argument. He stopped the car by the roadside, I pushed the door open and got out. It was really cold that day, the wind seemed to penetrate my bones, making me shiver. Adrian also got out, trying to pull me. In the struggle, I fell to the ground and eventually had to undergo the surgery. For a month after the surgery, Adrian cared for me attentively and constantly comforted me that we'd have children later. I was obsessed with wanting a reason why he didn't want this child, when he clearly liked children. He only said he wasn't ready to be a dad. Later, I realized he just didn't like a child from me and him. Some memories are like long-sealed old items, every time opened, they raise a cloud of dust. I wiped my tears, thinking of Claire's words. No wonder Ryan wasn't so surprised seeing me, he knew long ago it was my family's company. Moreover, he had silently followed me for so many years. But having experienced pain, I didn't want to easily start a new relationship. Now I just want to focus on career. Knowing these things, facing Ryan felt somewhat uncomfortable. But he was businesslike in front of me, not revealing anything else, which gradually relaxed me. A month passed quickly. Agreed with Adrian to get the divorce certificate, I went back. At the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance, I saw Adrian again. Only him alone. He looked much thinner than last time, his once spirited handsome face now had a layer of stubble. Looked somewhat unkempt. No need for pleasantries, I walked inside. "Evelyn." He suddenly called me. My body paused, he never called me this. But he didn't like overly affectionate terms, between us, it was like two colleagues, directly calling each other's names. Seeing I didn't turn back, Adrian came over. "Can we not divorce?" I looked up at him and saw his eyes full of red bloodshots. That day Serena returned, everyone picked her up together. The flowers and cake were bought by everyone, the cake I brought back was personally bought for you. I always thought you liked it. Later she said she wanted to return to do business and asked everyone for help, so we. Late explanations, better not to have. I interrupted Adrian's continued words. Adrian, our divorce has nothing to do with her. Let the past be past, no need for explanations. Let's go, the staff are already at work. Adrian seemed unwilling to give up. Then what does it relate to? Just because I didn't know about your allergy? Or because of the child? Not wanting the child was because I was too busy starting a business then. You were young, I feared not caring well. I took a breath. Adrian, let's let each other go. From dating to marriage, in these 7 years, have you ever been truly happy? I haven't. I loved you cautiously, but it only made us more tired. Now I want to let go, please fulfill this. Spilled water is hard to retrieve. Once cut and bled, no matter how the scar is smoothed, it will leave a mark. Perhaps this separation made Adrian truly repent, but so what? He just discovered that days without me aren't so good. If I really go back, will he certainly cherish? Love dependent on others' moods, I don't want any more. What if I don't divorce? Adrian stared at me, tone with threat and helplessness. Then go through legal procedures. I stepped inside. Adrian finally followed. Getting the divorce certificate, walking out together, Adrian looked even more decadent. Walking out the Civil Affairs Bureau door, I surprisingly saw Ryan. He held a large bunch of sunflowers, smiling as he approached. Evelyn, congratulations on your new life, from now on, it's all sunny roads. Beside, Adrian's mouth twitched. Ryan, aren't you on a business trip? How come you're here? I took the sunflowers, somewhat puzzled. You bidding farewell to the past, I couldn't participate, but your future, I want to welcome first. Ryan's face was firm, like finally saying words hidden in his heart. Actually, before getting out that day, I wanted to tell you, I've liked you for 9 years, but you always liked Adrian. Now you've finally walked out of the mud, I can't wait anymore. Before I could say refusal, a figure flashed beside. Bang! Adrian punched Ryan. He looked angry and crazy. By the time Ryan reacted to counter, he had already taken a punch. Claire, sitting in the car gossiping, saw this and instantly opened the door to come down. I've long wanted to teach you a lesson, you dead scumbag, you dare hit someone, really giving you face. Claire grabbed Adrian's coat and pulled it off. This way she could hit harder. I wanted to pull them apart, but seeing Claire and Ryan wouldn't lose, I ultimately watched as the two punched and kicked Adrian. Adrian, not knowing what happened, finally squatted down, holding his head without fighting back, faintly hearing suppressed sobs. I suddenly thought of that afternoon, also such sounds disturbing my word memorization. The boy's brokenness made me unable to help but feel heartache, handing him a pack of tissues. From then on, the gears of fate began to turn. If given another chance, perhaps I would quietly walk away. Claire, Ryan, let's go. Claire's anger wasn't fully vented, she stopped her hands but not her mouth. You scumbag deserve to die childless. Evelyn suffered a miscarriage and developed health issues because of you, yet you didn't care. She stood outside in the bitter cold waiting for you, and you didn't care. Now that you're divorced, suddenly you feel the pain? Who's playing the martyr here? May you and Serena be locked together forever, a green tea bimbos and a dog, forever and ever. Claire had spoken in the heat of anger, never expecting her words to become a prophecy. Ryan's expression darkened. Shouting another profanity, Claire felt more comfortable, holding my arm walking to the car. I need to wipe my hands well with wet wipes, hitting such a person really dirted my hands. We drove away for a long time, Adrian was still squatting on the ground. After eating with Claire, Ryan and I boarded the return train. I made it clear to Ryan, telling him not to be obsessed with me. People always change after getting, I don't want such an experience a second time. Ryan didn't speak, got off midway, saying to go home. I thought he probably wouldn't return. After going back, I busied myself with career. Claire occasionally sent me gossip. Do you know why Serena came back? Couldn't make it outside, sneaked back, under the returned overseas name, daily seeking investments for startup. Adrian, this idiot, actually guaranteed for her to find funds. Last time to South City was for this. Serena is really a spendthrift, she's nothing but green tea, even startup failed, haha. Now those investors are blocking Adrian, wanting him to repay debts. Actually, I long stopped caring about how they were, but still passively learned some from Claire. Seeing I was lazy to care, Claire later stopped saying. Half a month later, another heavy snow before the new year. I gave employees holiday, let them work from home. I also nestled in bed watching movies. Mom suddenly knocked on my door. Evelyn, look who that person outside is, why standing at our door all along? Should I call security to drive him away? Through the window, I saw the figure standing outside. Slender as if a wind could blow him down. Messy long hair covered the face, full of snowflakes, from afar, like a snowman. I recognized at a glance, it was Adrian. It's Adrian, Mom, I'll go down and see. Mom was somewhat surprised, she didn't recognize Adrian either. Adrian had changed too much, if not for years of living together familiarity, I'd hardly recognize him. I walked out the villa gate, seeing Adrian standing there almost frozen stiff. Feet stepping on snow, making crunching sounds. Adrian heard the sound and looked over. Evelyn. This address inexplicably made me nauseous. Anything? For him, I was already calm. Adrian actually knelt on the ground. Evelyn, sorry. I quickly moved aside, I couldn't accept such an apology. Adrian, if you truly apologize, never appear in front of Evelyn again. A sudden voice rose, I saw Ryan walking from not far. He held the umbrella over my head, tone gentle. It's too cold, go back inside. Seeing my surprised expression, Ryan smiled. I went home to visit a mountain folk doctor, got a prescription from him to condition your body. I told Uncle and Aunt about this. Evelyn, I'll stay by your side, waiting for you to accept me. I turned, seeing parents standing in the yard worried, nodding at me. I'll handle this, don't freeze, go back quickly. Ryan put the umbrella in my hand, let me go back, he walked to Adrian. Stop performing deep affection here, you do this just to seek comfort in your heart. Evelyn doesn't need to forgive you, because to her, you're just a stranger. The word stranger changed Adrian's gaze. He slowly stood, stepping through wind and snow leaving. After a few steps, he suddenly turned, looked towards me, mouth moving. On New Year's Day, after Claire greeted parents, she secretly told me. Serena was taken for investigation, likely going in. Adrian died. After company bankruptcy, he jumped from the rooftop. Really fulfilled Claire's words, no descendants. I thought of that heavy snow day, what Adrian said turning back. Goodbye, my most loved girl.